Hi, my name is Hriday. I have tested positive for COVID-19. I have been in self-isolation for the past 14 days, and this is my story. Ever since the lockdown, I have been living with my parents and grandparents here in Mumbai. And then one day, my father starts showing symptoms. So we got him immediately tested, and we found out that he has tested positive. That day, my world completely collapsed. But it didn't stop there. My grandmother, my mother, and I were told to self isolate immediately and get ourselves tested as well. The results would take 24 hours. I didn't know what it was to feel powerless until then. Fear had overcome, and it's only the next day we found out that we have tested positive also. I felt completely helpless for my parents. They didn't deserve this. Nobody did. The next day was a tough day to go through. Just to accept what had happened. I was going through so many emotions, it didn't even register. Sadness, concern for my grandmother, guilt, and the stigma. People from neighboring buildings watching this drama that was unfolding in my apartment with all of these hazmat suits fumigating the premises. They were asking us questions, and then they finally sealed our apartment. I could never forget. The same people who I grew up with were now staring at us from the corner of their eyes, maybe making all sorts of misguided interpretations of how careless we were, closing their windows on us. In that moment, we were the outcasts of society, and the word stigma just became real for me from that day. The four walls of my room had become my world for those 14 days. At first, it was overwhelming. The thoughts in my head, bouncing from one memory to another memory, the mistakes I've made, or the road I've not taken, thinking about hypotheticals. If I had done this, then I would be able to do that. Then suddenly I switch gears to the future. What if my grandmother gets affected? What if my father doesn't make it? He is a heart patient after all. How long do we live in this fear? And after thinking about all of this, I look at the calendar and it's only day 4. My body had become a slave to my wavering mind. I would go in the 1,000 directions where my mind would take me. I soon realized I had to control this. I had to control my mind. I had to engage my mind in something. And that's when I found the mood space. I quickly realized I had to engage my mind in something. So like anyone else, I turned to the internet, I found many articles, but they were spread all over the place. And one article contradicted the other. I was looking for one platform that I could learn more about mental health from. I wanted to read people's personal experiences on dealing with mental health issues and how they went about it. How did they deal with it? I was looking for an interactive platform where I could have a conversation with people who have been through this, and that could help me understand what I was going through, the kind of thoughts that I was going through. And that's when I found the mood space. It was God sent. Reading about other people's experiences calmed me down. I thought to myself, hey, other people have these thoughts too, so it's not just me. Previously, I would just change the channel when someone spoke about mental health. I thought it didn't apply to me. I thought I was above these problems and that it only affected certain people, not me. That day, I realized I was wrong. I truly understood the power that mental health can have on your physical health. the power of your mental health on the people around you, on what you attract to yourself, the impact that mental health can have on your dreams, on your ambitions, on your life. And that day, I became a mental health warrior at the Mood Space. James Stockdale, former American vice presidential candidate, naval officer, and Vietnam prisoner of war, spoke about his time in captivity for 7 years in the jungles of Saigon. During this horrific period, Stockdale was repeatedly tortured and had no reason to believe he'd make it out alive. And yet, he maintained unwavering faith that he can and he will prevail in the end. And at the same time, he had the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of his current reality. I was completely fascinated by this concept, and I decided I have to imbibe this by embracing the daily harshness of my symptoms, while yet having faith that I will overcome this entire episode of COVID in the end, and I will look back on this experience as a source of strength and life lesson. Overall, I went through the stages of shock, to denial, to despair, and finally acceptance. And once I accepted that I had to stay in quarantine, come what may, life got a lot easier. My parents and I have now fully recovered. I feel optimistic about the future. I know myself better. And now I am far better equipped to take on life's new challenges.